Greetings folks, Dice Kitty here, and I have another board game component and gameplay review for you. And this one is for Bloodsuckers. This is from Fireside Games, one of my favorite board game publishers. They do Castle Panic and Village Crone, and Grackles is a newer one, Remnants, all those type of games. This one is definitely way different from their other games, so I want to do the review of the components right quick before we talk about gameplay. Alright, so one of the biggest components is this board here, and it actually has a punch-out stand on the back, so it stands up on the table to where everybody can see it, which is kind of cool. In this game, you're vampires and vampire hunters like fighting over locations in a town. So there's a nightclub, a police station, a church, a graveyard, and a hospital. And you decide which ones and how many of them you're gonna, fight over. And that's when you turn them to the numbers. And any of them that you're not doing stay locked. So that's one thing I really like about this particular component is you're gonna spin these often, but like the material it's made out of, it's got a nice laminate surface on it. It doesn't seem like it's any different than other laminate surfaces, but these aren't super tight, so I don't feel like you're gonna get a ton of wear and tear on it. You're probably gonna have something show up eventually, if you play the game a lot. But just mild play, I don't think you're going to see that much issue with this particular component. So the artwork's cool, it's clear, you can read it, you understand it. Like, this is how many people you have to fight over. That right there means you're currently battling over this one. That's when you have the mat out and everything. This tells you vampires won it, and that tells you hunters won it, and that tells you that nobody won it, or it's one of them that was locked at the beginning. Down here you have a turn tracker, so if Hunter 1 starts the game, it starts there, and then when their turn is over, it goes to Vampire 1, then to Hunter 2, and then to Vampire 2. If vampires start the game, it starts off down there during the nighttime. Different cards have different abilities that work differently during the day and during the night, so that's another cool aspect of the game. But this is a big part of the game. It gives you an update as to what's going on overall in the town. So I like this component quite a bit, actually. The next biggest component is the playmat, and it's real thin laminated paper, but if you've just got it set out on the table and you're playing on it, you're not going to get a lot of wear and tear on it, and you can actually, to flatten it out, bend it backward, and it'll flatten out on the table better, and it doesn't hurt it that much. So, but here you've got the vampire hunters down here at the bottom, the vampires at the top, and bystanders in the middle. And whenever you pick a location, whatever the numbers are, that's how many people you put out here, and that's who you fight over. So this is kind of cool to put in a game. It's not a board, and it's easy to pack up and easy to take out. So, all right, the hunters and the vampires each have their own decks, and they have similar cards in each one, but they have like different names and slightly different abilities. Both vampires play out of one deck. Both vampire hunters play out of one deck. So there's not individual person decks. It's just team decks, basically. And then you have your bystanders. And this is what they look like on the back side. And when you have them put in the bystander spot on the playmat, this is how you track how much power you have and how you determine who wins the bystander. And then when you win the bystander, the hunter gets the hunter side up, vampire gets the vampire side up. Same person, just they either were a hunter or a vampire. So That's kind of cool. They all have different abilities too, and you can tell what the abilities are right next to the 0. And that's one thing we had to keep looking back at the rule book about. Even though the back of the cards, the player aid cards, have references, we still have to look back at the rule book for better, more in-depth descriptions of what the abilities did. But that could just be because we've only played this game a handful of times, you know, less than 10 times. So if we played this game a lot, we probably wouldn't have to look back so much, and the references on the back would be more than enough. So the player aid cards are definitely handy. They have your turn order, and they have the character ability references on the back. And yeah, they're different because one is for the hunter and it talks about the adrenaline token, and the vampire one talks about the blood token. So they're definitely different. You have one for each player. This game can play up to 4 people. I definitely recommend playing with 4. 2 is fun, 4 is best. Alright, so the other components, we have an opaque black die with red pips on it. We have cardboard punch-out stuff that was pre-punched. It did not come on a punch board. These are action token things, so if you bank an action token, you get one of those. Your blood tokens are little red gaming stones. You get 6 of those. The hunters get these little crystal-looking things for adrenaline. And the vampire players, these you put whatever number player you are on this here. Vampires have little blood droplets labeled 1 and 2 for the 2 different players. And the hunters have their corresponding ones as well. And there are 10 of those, so each player gets 5. Because you can potentially have 5 bystanders out there. Let me find the 5. There it is. You can have 5, 3, 4, 3, or 2, depending on which location you're at. So that's why the playmat has 5 spots on it. So you could potentially be fighting over 5 people. So the components, I like the components. There's a lot of cool different components in the game. I love the little crystal pieces. They are plastic. The gaming stones are glass. And then you've got cardboard punch-out stuff. You've got a die. You've got 3 different decks of cards, which I highly recommend sleeving because you're going to be shuffling them a lot. And, you know, you've got player aid cards that are unique per what side you're playing, either the vampire or the hunter. Like the playmat, has everything laid out so you know exactly where you're supposed to be at. And it's not a game board, so it's not a big bulky piece that you're dragging out. The big board piece is this, and it stands up. So I love the components. I think the components are great. As far as gameplay goes, like I mentioned, I do not like playing this game with 2 people or 3 people. 3 people is kind of, I don't know, the 3-person rule is kind of weird. So I definitely recommend play this with 4 people. If someone's done any 3-player adjustments, I'd like to hear them. But 2 people, it's fun, but it's just kind of like, I wish we had 2 more people type of thing. How you play, you get 3 actions during step 1, and you have a list of actions that you can do. As the vampire and the hunter, let's see, they have all the same actions except for 1. So you can play 1 combat card, which is 1 from the deck. It's in your hand. You draw cards. Start off with a hand of cards. So out of your hand, you can play 1 combat card. You can move 1 character. So wherever you've got a character at, like, let's say I'm Hunter Character 1, I can move characters around or move them to the reserve where my additional characters are at. I don't recall if you can move them to your teammates' column. I don't think that you can. Let's see. You can draw one card. That's also an action. You can activate one adrenaline token as a hunter, or you can feed one vampire blood token to one vampire. Those each do different things. I really don't want to get into all the minute details of it. I just kind of want to give an overview of the game. You can give one character to a teammate. So those are different actions. You can bank unused actions for these little tokens. You can never have more than 2 of those. That's actually written on here to help remind people. You can give, receive, or trade one card with a teammate at no action cost during this step 1. So that's cool that you can actually trade with your teammate. I don't believe you can play cards on your teammate's characters, so that's why you would want to trade. Let's see, so after step 1, you go to step 2 is where you discard and draw. So you can discard cards that you don't want from your hand and draw up to your maximum hand size. Step 3, any characters that were stunned. So let's say I've got Amy here at a location. If she's stunned, she's turned sideways. So at the end of my turn, she becomes unstunned. Alright, and when they're stunned, again, it's minute details, but kind of important. If they're stunned, they basically don't get to do anything, like they don't get to attack or anything like that. So you don't want stunned characters. Alright, so step 4, you rotate the clock dial. So if I was Hunter 1, it would then rotate, and it would then go to Vampire 1's turn. And they would get to do something, and they would follow their character card and follow their turn order. So, and like I said, the Hunter and the Vampire each have identical turns, except for the Hunter can use these, and the Vampire uses these. So, and they do different things. The Adrenaline, I believe, gives you an additional action, and the Vampire Blood gives a Vampire +2 for the battle. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff to remember in this game. For instance, what the Adrenaline and the Blood tokens do, plus what you can use actions for, and then you also have the character abilities. I'm not going to cover all the character abilities because there are a ton of them. Well, there are 8 of them, but I really don't want to get into all of them. So you can see what the character abilities do on whatever side they're on. You know, or if you're fighting over a character, let's say you want a character that can move people around. That's what that symbol is for, is that allows you, like Amy's out here in Hunter 1, I can move her out of Hunter 1 on this column here and put her back in my reserve to maybe put Lilith up there if Lilith was in my reserve, because maybe I wanted her ability instead of Amy's, and I just put Amy out there at the start just to see what my opponent was gonna do. So there is definitely strategy to this game. There are different types of cards. You have attack cards, which are the ones that are yellow, they say attack on them. There are impact cards, which are purple, and they say impact. And there are strike cards, which are red, and they say strike up here on the side. And there's another type, if I can find it, dodge. Dodge cards. They're blue, and they say dodge. So there are different type of cards that you use for different things. I really wish I had enough people to do a how to play video on this game. It is a lot of fun when you can get 4 people together. So, but my play group is not big on card battling games, and it's probably because most of my play group did not come from a trading card game background. I did. I played Magic for umpteen years, Pokemon, the My Little Pony trading card game. I've played so many different trading card games that I can't even name all of them. This type of game does appeal to me because it feels like you're playing like a one-on-one or a team combat with cards. So it does appeal to me. But my play group is not big on that kind of stuff. So my play group is not interested as much in this game as they are Castle Panic or, you know, the Village Crone. They love those type of games. But this, you know, they weren't as excited about it, but I enjoyed it. So for me personally, I would buy this game and try to find, you know, another person or 3 other people, because like I said, I don't like the 3-person rules for this. But if I could find 3 other people or at least 1 other person, I'd be happy. I would play this game. So, and it is very thematic. It's got a nice horror theme to it. The cards have nice, you know, amounts of gore on them. I guess they're not super gory. There's just some blood and some slicing and stuff like that. So if you like gore, it's got some. I mean, you've got some bloody vampires. So, but overall, I like the game. So I like the gameplay. It's different. It's fun. So I give the components 2 thumbs up, and I give the gameplay, I give it 1 thumbs up, only because it'll be harder for me to find enough people to play with. So that's the one downside to it. But other than that, I enjoyed it. So hopefully you guys will too. Board out. Game on.